You have 30 minutes to hide a USB drive in your house. Your house will then be raided by police, detectives and some FBI agents all searching for the USB. Where do you hide it so that it won't be found? I think we need to check the ops hard drive and everyone else's apparently. Damn, what do you guys have on your USB drives? All mine are old school assignments I'll never look at again but still have just in case. Pirated music of punk bands from the 80s that never put out more than a demo and 7 inches. I'm not worried about being caught. Put it inside a hot dog and give it to my dog. He never chews anything and just gulps it down. The next time he takes a dump, I retrieve it. At my house, when the dog inhales something without chewing, we call it mailboxing. Like when you toss a letter into a mailbox. A key tactic to get the dog you take a pill is to hide the pill in something you know the dog will mailbox. Heat up the bottom of one of my jar candles until I can slip the wax out. I've done it before. Hollow out a space in it, put it in, and put the whole thing back in the jar. I've done it before. If anyone asks, I just meant getting the wax out of a jar. Honest. This is a fairly common way to ship small amounts of drugs. I wouldn't rely on the cops being unaware of that one. The last time I flew I took home a candle and got searched and swabbed by security. This makes a lot more sense now. In the handle on my oven door, the screw loosened and one side fell down. When I went to fix it, I noticed it was hollow. You could probably fit 15 in there. Was thinking between the glass of the oven door. I recently discovered I can access that space between the glass. If I could do that, I would print and insert a picture of a clean oven interior. Print a face and hands trying to escape of a child. Gingerbread houses, you know. If I don't need easy access to it when they leave, I'll remove a wall outlet and push it through a hole on the back of the electric box into the wall cavity. Impossible to find without ripping out all the drywall, since there will be no evidence that it was put in there once I put the outlet back in. Do just this, and the sniffer dog would have it in 10 minutes. Go one further, the police triumphantly find the chip, but continue searching from due diligence. The dog finds other chips, and again alerts officers to the original hide. Nothing inside. Extreme diligence runs the void finder and metal detector just in case. No holes, no metal save the screws holding perfectly normal drywall. Even careful measuring of the hide returns normal widths on everything. Diligence complete. Officers take the key back to the lab and find it heavily encrypted. Their office nerds are confident it can be cracked in a few months, may year. They get to work. Office nerds then have an amazing rate of suicide over the next few years because the encryption is based on Depeche Mode music and they get too depressed to go on. The one Depeche Mode fan in the group succeeds, but finds a second layer of encryption based on smooth jazz. PD has to hire a new group of lab nerds, thus never finding out the chip is merely a decoy. The actual chip is still in the carefully searched wall, behind the outlet box, covered by a normal looking 2.5 layers of drywall with Q-top screw heads over the chip. If somehow the officers do find it, there is a single unencrypted file with a nude photo of myself, thus anyone foolish enough to even look at it is permanently struck blind. All these replies, and yet no one realizes that this was written by Dwight Schrute. I'm gonna wrap it in some plastic, then down the pipe it goes. Or up the pipe. The trusty prison wallet. Glued to the underside of my wheelie bin handle, there's a space right under it which should be enough for a USB drive. If they flip it over to rummage through the trash, then they'll be holding it with their hand. Either that or under the insulation inside my attic. I like the idea of them having it in their hand and not knowing it. I can only imagine that right now somewhere in the world there is a group of FBI agents raiding a house, sweating, not being able to find a specific USB. Their boss is on their ass. Their last hope is to consult the all-knowing members of the r/AskReddit community. So we are out of options. What do we do? Lieutenant, yes sir. Consult the hive, sir. The hive mind is erratic and regularly confused by its own thoughts to catch a maniac. You have to think like a maniac. Now are you a maniac, son? No sir, consult the hive, and may God have mercy on our souls. Inside the notch, where my basketball rim/backboard connects to the garage, I remember thinking, wow, I could hide something here when I put up the backboard. Nice try. Come back with a warrant. Plays Cherry Pie by Warrant while searching house. Bury it in the insulation in the attic. It would take days to sift through it all to find a USB drive. The bonus would be that they'd find my tape measure that I lost a few years ago. I was finishing up a project in my attic last year, putting tools away, and couldn't find my tape measure, so I went back up and started digging around in the insulation to find where I left it. While doing that, a 2x4 I stepped on rolled on its side, dumping me off and sending me through the drywall and into my bedroom below. After I recovered, I looked across the room and saw my tape measure sitting on my dresser. It wasn't in the attic after all. Take out floating rubber ball thingy from toilet tank. Cut a slit in the bottom of the floating rubber ball thingy and shove it inside of that. Super glue the slit shut and replace it. Truck man, that's some high level thinking. Toilet tank is the first place they are gonna look. If that many of them are showing up, it's imminent danger stuff. They are definition going to have an electronics sniffing dog. The dog steps into the house and just starts to freaking lose it at the TV. Pull the latch plate off my door frame, chisel a slightly deeper hole, pop then USB in there, and replace the plate. Who would ever think to look there? What if the FBI opens your door using the shotgun method? Then no flash drive for them, and you go away scot-free cause it was the cops who destroyed the evidence. Well, that gives me enough time to pop a circuit board out of the casing and just randomly solder it to a nondescript part of another piece of electronics in my house. I can then burn the casing. My CDT teacher would be so proud. Unless they are really good at their job, they are not finding it. I think this one might be the best answer as no other answer addresses dogs trained to sniff out things like SD and USB drives. I'm not kidding. They bring them in on child porn cases, where the evidence is often on a drive, hidden away from the computer. Having the USB circuit board look like a piece of electronics on a random device, computer's gonna get confiscated. Might work as the device might trigger the dog, but the trainer think it is supposed to have a memory board. They find the one that is supposed to be there, but don't find the hidden one. In the broken porcelain on my sink, then patch it with instant noodles. Give it to my 4 years old and say don't lose this, but poof, that thing is gone for at least a year. This made me think of just putting it in a Nerf gun and shooting it in an empty room. Those darts just disappear. Just tape it to a sock and then do the laundry. My yard, nobody goes in there and comes back alive. Your yard is peppered with landmines too. My brother died last year and substance abuse played a large part in his passing. He had a very successful business that he sold, so he was quite wealthy. At one point, he decided it was a great time to explore leveraging his position to buy Bitcoin. He borrowed $500,000 in December of 18 and bought Bitcoin. But he became paranoid when he started using Xenix heavily. He hid $25k in his house when he was wasted and couldn't remember where. He told his housekeeper he'd give her $5k if she found it. She did, at the bottom of a box of Ziploc baggies. His final act of paranoia was to place all of his Bitcoin on an encrypted cold storage USB drive that he hid in the house. Several encrypted drives were found in the house, but nobody knows the password. He had a synchronized encrypted Apple Notes password file on his Apple devices, but nobody knows the password to that. So there is $1 million+ sitting on a USB drive, but no way to get at it. You might be able to get some of his devices unlocked by submitting a death certificate and proof of his estate to Apple. If he was using iCloud with an Apple ID, they may do it, but it's going to be a fairly hefty process. Interesting idea. Thanks. Have you tried having someone bang on the keyboard really loudly while typing super fast for a few minutes before saying amen? That always works for me. Sorry to hear about your brother, but have you tried 1234 or password 1? Op is a cop on the scene serving a warrant trying to find a USB stick they are certain is on site. I feel like swallowing it is too obvious. I'd make a decoy flash drive with a Bitcoin account password on it with a couple $100 in it. Then I'd put in a Tor browser link and some pictures of weed or something. I'd hide that flash drive without a case inside my box masquerading as part of the hardware. Then get the real USB and glue it to the underside of a fin on my outside account unit. I'm in Florida, so the account runs about 24/7. Hopefully they will find the decoy in those box before they tear apart my account system.